Hello everybody and welcome to That's Football. I'm Mark Goldbridge and this is your latest transfer news. And don't worry, Arsenal fans, look, big exits at Arsenal. I want to talk about the Thomas Partey thing. I think there could be something sinister going on there, but also Mikel Arteta to PSG will put minds at rest in relation to that. Fabrizio Romano has given an update on that story over the weekend. Plus we've got updates on Chelsea, Manchester City and lots of others as we look ahead to another week of transfer news, which does need to get kicking on a little bit. I still think it's a little bit slow. Why is that? I think it's internationals. I think it's players on holiday, the normal stuff. But look, lots of clubs want to get deals done quickly. None more so than Arsenal. Will there be a movement from tomorrow with Declan Rice having finished play with England tonight? But we're going to start off with these big stories over the weekend. Arsenal letting Thomas Partey go and PSG being interested in Mikel Arteta. Now, PSG have just had a deal with Nagelsmann fall through, and a story came over the weekend that their director of football was in talks with Mikel Arteta. There ain't no way Mikel Arteta's going to leave Arsenal at the moment. It's just not going to happen. There was talk of Real Madrid. He may well end up being Man City's next manager, let's be honest, but he isn't leaving Arsenal at the moment. Look, there is promotion, there is progression, there are steps up, but it doesn't make any sense. You know, that would make no sense. Fabrizio Romano has come out and said, look, Luis Enrique is the one that PSG are talking to there. That's not done yet, but it's expected to get done. And Mikel Arteta's got no intention of leaving Arsenal at the moment. So we'll leave it there because there's nothing to talk about. But it's going to be so interesting to see what Arsenal do next season. And it's going to be really interesting to see what they do this week. Declan Rice, they've put a lot of work into. Will they get that deal over the line? And Thomas Partey exiting the club. I want to get the comments in on this because I've just had a weekend away and I saw this story yesterday and I was sat there thinking about it and I thought, you know what? I'll wait till I get back before I do a video on it because I do sense a bit of something here. Obviously, look, we're all grown-ups. We've all heard of the allegations against the player. And some people have criticised Arsenal's handling of that, whereby they're in a title race, they keep picking him, and now the season's over, they're going to get rid of him. Now, are they getting rid of him for football reasons, or are they getting rid of him because of the overarching reasons? In which case, some people have said, well, look, you know what? They were happy to play him last year when they were in a title race, and now suddenly they've got this feeling of morality where it's let's remove this issue from the club. They should have done it straight away. I'm not here to comment on that because I don't actually know the full ins and outs. What I would say is you can deal with it from a footballing point of view. And when I look at Thomas, look, it's like Mason Greenwood at Manchester United, let's be fair. I always said Mason Greenwood, generational talent, fantastic footballer with the world at his feet. What I think about what Mason Greenwood does at Manchester United is my business, and I speak about it on the United Stand quite regularly. Thomas Partey is a footballer that I think makes Arsenal better. Thomas Partey is a footballer that I've wanted at Manchester United over the years. I know he's 30, but I do wonder if these issues weren't there, would they be moving him on? I don't think he's the sort of player you move on. You know, Casemiro's 31, so I don't think he's the sort of player you move on. I'm surprised that they're moving him on, and I think there must be a reason for that, because Xhaka is potentially going as well. You know, the midfield is the heartbeat of the team. Do you completely rip your midfield apart and start a new one? That could be a problem for Arsenal next year in the first few games of the season as they try to adjust. So I'm surprised in a footballing sense that they're getting rid of him. And I have to acknowledge those people who say, are there more than footballing reasons here? Are Arsenal removing an issue that's been a bit of an issue for them, a bit of a headache over the last few months of the season, and their plan was always to get to the summer and then deal with that? And if that was the case, you can't really criticise Arsenal. People will say, oh, they should have suspended him and got rid of him straight away. I don't know the details of that. Do you know the details of that? But it does feel a little bit like, from a footballing point of view, why would you remove him when, you know, Xhaka's going to go? And I think, even if you're going to bring Declan Rice, and they're not bringing Casido in as well, they're looking at Lavia now. Declan Rice, Lavia, you need 3 or 4 midfielders anyway. So for me, it does feel a little bit odd, but looks like Partey will leave with Xhaka as well. So get your comments in below about that. Chelsea are hitting the news a little bit at the moment. I also want to get your comments on this. We may well do a video about this later in the week. I've only just got back from a weekend away and I want to do a bit of digging myself. But there's people saying that Todd Boehly's takeover of Chelsea is linked to an investment from Saudi Arabia. And is there some sort of Chelsea Saudi Arabian relationship there. There seems to be a lot of Chelsea players getting linked to Saudi Arabia, which will obviously help Chelsea, who need to sell a lot of players that people thought they'd struggle to sell. And then suddenly there's talk of Ziyech going to Saudi Arabia for 200 million and stuff like that. I over-exaggerate about 200 million, but it would be rather convenient. I mean, look, Ruben Neves. Ruben Neves to Wolves, from Wolves to Saudi Arabia. Ruben Neves is what, mid-20s, a little bit older than that? This is big. You know, this is a conversation as well. Keep your eye on the Saudi Arabian league because, all right, Kante, Ronaldo, Benzema, all coming towards the end of their career. But if they start, accumulating players who are in their mid-20s, early 20s, then suddenly that league becomes a little bit different to the profile of the MLS. China did try this. They took a few. I remember them taking some Chelsea players, Oscar and I can't remember the other guy. But look, keep an eye on that. It's very interesting. And I was joking last night on Twitter about Man United. We need to sell some players. We've got loads of players to sell. Isn't it ironic that Saudi Arabia don't want any of our players? It speaks volumes. So, look, if there's an opportunity to sell some of the players you don't want to Saudi Arabia, you're going to get a lot more money than you would get elsewhere. So interesting. But Chelsea, keep an eye on Chelsea with Casido. I mean, Brighton apparently won 80 million quid. I think that they're winning that race. It's a lot of money, and it sort of I said this last week. It sort of falls into Chelsea's lap really, because Arsenal's, Manchester United's, Manchester City's will probably look at Casido and go, good player, but we're not spending 70 million on him. Whereas Chelsea will probably look at it and go, good player, we need to spend 70 million on him because we're trying to get back. So it sort of falls into Chelsea's lap. They are still linked to Osman, but they're bringing in this striker Jackson from Villarreal. Don't know a lot about him. I mean, I know who he is. Don't know a lot about him. Interesting. Is he the guy that's going to score the goals for Chelsea? Potentially, I still think they need to bring in a top level striker, Chelsea, and they are still linked to Victor Osimhen. There are some good strikers out there, but Jackson from Villarreal is 21 years of age. So yeah, look, Chelsea need to start doing some business. Of course they do. Liverpool, as I said last week, I expect them to do something really soon. Just watch out for Thuram, though, because there is I can't remember where it came from, but there was a report this morning around Newcastle becoming a bit frustrated about the Barella deal, and the Barella deal being quite difficult, which it will be. They may turn their attention to Thuram. There's a lot of people looking around the same areas, midfield, attack. Lots of people, especially the midfield. The midfield is everyone wants a midfielder this summer. You know, it's a little bit like when I was a kid and everybody wanted the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles base, and it got sold out really quickly, and Blue Peter had to show you how to make one with cardboard. And there's a lot of midfielders out there at the moment, and there's a lot of clubs that want them, and Newcastle clearly want one, Liverpool want a few, Chelsea want a few, Arsenal, Manchester United, even Manchester City. So Liverpool, I would be very surprised if Liverpool missed out on Thuram, because they do want him. That was the deal I expected them to get done quite quickly. Maybe that Newcastle story is just there to, give Liverpool a bit of a kick up the backside. I was very impressed by Newcastle in that Barella story, by the way. But as I say, I think the big story of the weekend for me, I mean, apart from what we spoke about with Arsenal, is that Ruben Neves deal to Saudi Arabia. Incredible amount of money that Wolves will get, and an incredible amount of money that Ruben Neves will make as well. I mean, look, I've always said there's no morals in football. The only God is money. And when you've got a league that's really ambitious and has a lot of money, you will see players. I think there was an assumption that we're just going to see retirees going out there to earn one last payday. I think there's so much wealth there and there's so much opportunity there. You will see players like Ruben Neves going there, and it'll be very interesting to see how many more follow. Get your comments in below. What your thoughts on Arteta, Thomas Partey, the Chelsea situation. Lots to get involved in. Make sure you smash a like and subscribe. I'll speak to you on the next one. Thanks for watching.